Hey guys, it's Jeff Freeno with Pocketnow.com. As you've been following our series on the Sprint Samsung Transform, you've seen us unbox the device, you've seen us go over the hardware of the device, and finally you've also seen us look at the software of the device. Well, now it's time to give you our final thoughts, as well as what we like and don't like about the Samsung Transform in this final review. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, and we're back. And the first thing we're going to talk about are some of the pros of the Samsung Transform and what we actually like about the device. And the very first of which is going to be the slide-out QWERTY keyboard, as you can see here. This actually makes typing on a device, if you don't like a touchscreen keyboard for texting, typing emails, browsing the web, whatever it may be, much easier. Especially if you're coming from a feature phone now where you're used to having a hard keyboard, this will help make that transition for you. On top of that, staying on the subject of transitioning, is the Sprint ID interface. Now, many may consider this bloatware. However, if you're coming from either a dumb phone or a feature phone to a smartphone like the Transform, Sprint ID will actually act as a skin more or less for you and actually bring in widgets, application shortcuts, that sort of thing that Sprint has actually pre-installed and pre-made for you. This will make that transition much easier and much more enjoyable. Next up are some of the features that are included with the Samsung Transform. Despite the fact that it is a lower end, if you will, Android phone, it still includes a lot of the features that today's current higher end Android phones have. The first of which being the front-facing camera. So you can actually do video calls through Quick or Fring using that front-facing camera. Also take pictures of yourself, video of yourself that way, which is very cool. Next up is going to be the actual version of Android that is preloaded on this device. Now it's going to come with Android 2.1. However, it's not 2.2 Froyo, but it's also not going to be 1.6, the older versions. Now once again, that's a plus and a minus. We're going to factor it into the plus or the pro category because you're not too far behind the actual newest version. So there is room to possibly upgrade to Froyo. We'll have to see what happens. Fortunately, the processor isn't the fastest, so that may get left behind in that category. But for now, 2.1 is considered a pro on the Samsung Transform. One great plus with this device is that it actually has a dedicated camera button, as well as a dedicated voice activation button. So if you're driving, you want to make a phone call, you can actually press the voice button and say who you want to call. Now that's convenient. Lastly is going to be the screen. It's a 3.5-inch capacitive screen. It may not be a Super AMOLED, however the colors are surprisingly decent for this type of screen. So once again, this is a lower to mid-range end Android smartphone, so you're not going to get the Super AMOLED. However, you're not going to be slacking too bad. In terms of the responsiveness, as you can see here, it is quite responsive with only a few hiccups every now and then. Next up are going to be some of the cons of the device, or what we feel needs improvement or could be improved. And the very first one is going to be battery life. Samsung rates this device at around 6 hours talk time. However, we were getting nowhere near that, unfortunately. We were actually getting about half that. So we feel that it could possibly be improved with a future software update. We'll have to see what happens. But for now, you're going to want to carry a car charger or a secondary home charger with you, unfortunately, if you're going to be making many phone calls. As far as just texting, you're going to be fine, but once you factor in email and web browsing, you're going to be draining your battery pretty intensively. Now, we're also going to factor the 256 megabytes of RAM as well as the 800 megahertz processor into the cons category because that may lead to future loss of the ability to update, simply because of the resources not being there in terms of the specs. And the last con we're going to have about the Samsung Transform is actually its price point. It's priced at $150, rounding up from $149, for a 2-year contract. We feel this device should actually be around $100. It would be a very sweet spot for this device here, and I think it would sell a lot better than if it was priced at $150. Now overall, we thoroughly enjoyed our time with the Samsung Transform. We feel that this phone is the actual future of feature phones. Someday there will be no longer any feature phones. There will be dumb phones, low-end smartphones, and high-end smartphones, and this will be one of those lower to mid-end smartphones. We just wish Sprint would price it accordingly. However, if you are looking to pick up a Transform, we have to highly recommend it. We give it a 4 out of 5. Be sure to read the full written review to get all the juicy, in-depth details. Aside from that, as always, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed our coverage of the Samsung Transform. Thanks, everyone.